come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm here by myself today. So I'm both the host and the guest for what will be a short episode. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for listening to this podcast. It's been going on for about 2 years now, and we have not spoken directly to our listeners through the whole time. We, of course, have a general idea of who we are addressing, and we're thankful that many of you keep sending us valuable feedback. But I thought I'll take this chance to say a big thank you for taking the time out to listen to us. We understand that there's plenty of great content out there, both audio, visual, and text. So it's humbling to see so many people tune in for every new episode. The other thing is we generally prefer to focus on the topics on hand and the guests on the show rather than ourselves. That has been something that we wanted to keep pretty clear early on. We don't want to keep talking too much about ourselves. But I think, from time to time, it helps for the listeners to get to know the podcast hosts too, and who we are and what we do, and what our ambitions are for the future of this podcast. So let me begin by telling you a bit about myself. I promise I won't bore you, but I think it's important for people who don't know me, who have just heard me host the show, to at least have a vague understanding of who I am. So, of course, my name is Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and people call me Sidvi or Sid, among other things. I'm a writer and editor based in Seattle on the west coast of the US, and I have been in the cricket space for close to 18 years now. Between 2003 and 2008, I was a full-time employee at Cricinfo. It was Wisden Cricinfo back then. And I was fortunate to cover the Indian team on their tours to Pakistan, West Indies, England, and Australia. I also traveled the length and breadth of India to watch matches, both international and domestic matches. And it was a dream come true for me in my 20s, watching cricket and being paid for it. In 2013, after I had moved away from full-time cricket writing, I had a second stint at Cricinfo, this time as an editor and writer too. But this was part of a team that was behind the Cricket Monthly, the digital long-form magazine that was launched in 2014. So for 3 years there, I commissioned and edited over 200 pieces and was privileged to work with some of the best cricket writers in the world, guiding them with their stories and helping them turn their ideas into finished articles. Through this time, between 2009 and 2013, I worked as a business journalist at the Wall Street Journal. And, after that, through the time when I was working for the Cricket Monthly and a little later, I wrote a debut novel. It's called What's Wrong With You, Karthik, and you can find details of it online. I also wrote a number of pieces on cricket and other subjects for a variety of publications. And if you want to read more of my writing, you can visit my website at sidvi.net. You can also look up my name online and you'll find several articles of mine. Now, coming to this podcast, in 2018, my friend Mahesh Sethuraman, who is at Cornered on Twitter, he's a finance professional based in Singapore. And he asked if I would be interested in collaborating on an email exchange blog where we could exchange leisurely thoughts on Test cricket. Mahesh was specifically talking about Test cricket because he felt that with so much cricket happening, the mainstream press did not have the time or the bandwidth to identify global trends and highlight the issues that required more attention. As a hardcore fan of Test cricket, Mahesh was amused when people fell back on the same old tropes when Test cricket was being discussed, whether it was lamenting the fall of the glory days of the West Indies or articles that downplayed India's Test series win in Sri Lanka, saying, it's just similar conditions to India and what's the big deal, etc., etc. The problem Mahesh felt, and I agreed, was that with mainstream journalists busy with so much cricket year-round, it was difficult for them to leisurely discuss topics Like, for instance, cricketers who we expected to make it big, but whose career never took off, or the joy and curse of watching cricket clips on YouTube. These were the kind of topics that we felt weren't getting as much attention. And so, with this email exchange, we could introspect on these topics at length and give them some serious thought. And it also helped us learn several things along the way. 6 months down the line, that email exchange blog turned into a podcast, and we began to get more guests on the show to exchange their cricketing stories and offer their perspectives. We discussed the matches that were going on and the series that were currently being played, but also asked people to jog their memories to the years past and relive the time when they saw their first World Cup, or to tell us when they first attended a game at a stadium. Soon we started to get cricket writers and journalists on the show, and they shared all the rich stories from their careers and allowed us a deeper appreciation of the game. From the outset, as you might have noticed if you are a long-time listener, the plan for the podcast was to recreate the mood outside a tea shop, or to recreate a cricketing conversation in a restaurant. It's both relaxed as well as serious. I mean, we all want to discuss cricket at a serious level, but we don't want to take it so seriously as to lose the whole fun around it, right? So we wanted to have serious discussions that was laced with humor and irreverence, and yet discussions that were deeply respectful of the game and those who played it. We understood and understand that cricket is a serious game, and we also understand that it is just a game. Our lives will go on irrespective of who wins or loses. If somebody doesn't score today, it's not really going to change the way the world is going to work. But at the same time, we also know how deeply these things can affect fans and how they can carry these disappointments and triumphs for years and years and years. So over the last 2.5 years, this whole endeavor has run purely on passion. I have been editing academic journals and books as a day job, and whatever writing I have managed and whatever podcasts we have done has been entirely on my free time. Mahesh, of course, has continued with his day job, and whoever else is also who has joined the show, people like Ashoka, who is a regular contributor, Deepak, who helps us behind the scenes, and people like Subhash and Kartikeya and Karthik Krishnaswamy and all the other regulars who have been kind enough to join us, Fidel Fernando. Everyone, of course, none of them is doing this as the main job. I mean, all have their own gigs going on, their own lives going on, and 81 All Out has run on passion. We have big plans for it, though, and we have big hopes for it. And we always felt that we could scale this up to something that could be a home for memorable cricket discussions, both audio and text, and who knows, maybe sometime later in the day, maybe even video. So as of now, the podcast is going to complete 100 episodes sometime in the next few months. The listenership has increased, especially since the India's tour to Australia. We've seen the numbers really going up, and people seem to have liked what we have done over the last 2-3 months. We hope that we can carry more quality writing on the website. I personally would love to write more on the website, and also get other top writers to contribute. Cricket lends itself to great writing, and we would love to be a venue where people can come to read some quality cricket content. I mean, the game has so many stories in there, right? And what better way to tell it than through writing and through podcasts? So the question is, how do we take that step? Of course, we thought of the traditional modes of advertisers, maybe get a sponsor on, thought of other options. But none of these really appeal to us as much as reaching out to you, the listener. Because it requires someone to really love the game, to take out 2 hours or 2.5 hours to listen to a cricket podcast. You who have been listening to us for a while are obviously deeply invested in cricket, and I'm guessing you like the depth that we offer and the tone that we have. So here's a request from my end. We hope you can support us each month to help us reach the next level. We have set up a page on ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. And I will, of course, provide the link in the show notes. It's ko-fi.com/81allout. There are two options you will have there. You can either set up a recurring monthly payment, and that will help us keep the show going, or you can put in a one-time amount and lend your support. Either way, we are extremely grateful, and we hope we can start to provide exclusive content to our patrons sometime in the future. I mean, as of now, everything is going to be out there just like before, and we're asking you to support us in this journey. But who knows? I mean, as things go along, we would love to give more content for people who are supporting us, obviously, and give them, maybe something behind the scenes, maybe have some early releases, maybe have, some exclusive written content. Those are things that we will be considering going forward. But as of now, support us. All the details are in the show notes. We put out an announcement on Twitter yesterday about this, and we have already received a lot of love from many of you. We have Ravi, Vijay, Aditya, Ambarish Pandey, Chini, Brinda, KG, Sridhar Sarthi, Aditya Kumar, Siddharth Senthil Kumaran, Arun Menon, Nanda, Shushruta, Vinayak, KK. These are people who have supported us on the website, and they've left some lovely comments too. Aditya says, I thoroughly enjoy your podcast and discussions and consider it the best cricket podcast out there. It's great to be a fly on the wall while I walk my dog in sub-zero temperatures in Finland, vicariously being part of cricketing conversations. Thank you to the entire team. So thank you, Aditya, for your generous support. And we're glad to warm your heart with these stories that we bring you when you negotiate the sub-zero temperatures in Finland. KG says, love the podcasts and Sidby's writings. The podcasts after each test match in Australia heightened the brilliance of the contest and made me look forward to each game even more. So thanks for that, KG. Thanks for your generous contribution. And, these are things that we are happy to do. And we're glad that you enjoyed the series that little bit more because of listening to us. So, I don't want to, go through each and every comment, but of course, we're extremely grateful that all of you have, chipped in, and we hope we can provide you more special content in the future. So thanks again. And, before I finish, I thought I'll leave you with a bit of a throwback. We have had plenty of new listeners over the last few months, as I said, and many might have not heard all the previous episodes. I mean, I would urge everyone to, go back and listen to all the past episodes. There's plenty of archival gold there. But for now, I have picked out 3 clips from 3 different podcasts. The first clip that I picked out is from the podcast we did with the cricket writer Mudar Pateria. Here he is talking about his memories from his first cricket tour in Pakistan in 1982-83. Mudar, that was working for the Sports World magazine at the time, based in Calcutta as it was then. And he made the trip to Pakistan to cover that series, a pretty long series. And it was also the tour when he was assigned to be Imran Khan's ghostwriter. And here Mudar tells us how educative that whole experience was.
I keep telling my children, you guys won't know what it means to be a 19-year-old on your first bloody international trip where your office is putting down money that you can go out and report. And I was supposed to be Imran's ghostwriter. I mean, I was there partly as a cricket writer, but I was there as actually a ghostwriter. And I was supposed to be the Pakistan cricket captain's ghost. And that's how and his diktat to me was very clear. every day, very telepathically, he told me this. End of the day, 4:30, dressing room, 5 minutes. Which means that within 5 minutes of the game ending, match ending for a particular day, you have to be outside our Pakistan dressing room. And he would leave word with Khwaja. Khwaja was the bouncer, official bouncer of the Pakistan team. He generally stood out in a mustachioed guy, well-muscled Pathan, to throw people out. The moment he saw me, he would take me in. And Imran was an incredible character. He would give me his day's synopsis, almost like like a CEO would be reporting a certain dictation to an Anglo-Indian stenographer. Starting with first paragraph, he would dictate 4 sentences of the first paragraph. Then he'd actually tell me second para, and I would move on to the second paragraph. And then he would complete a second paragraph. And the fascinating part was I got an interesting insight into the mind of the man. He was telling me the story, starting with the biggest thing first, then the relatively less important, then declining orders of importance, and he never he never pulled his punches. If he actually felt that, I remember this, it's coming back to me nearly 38 years later, that Abdul Qadir was trying too many things. So once I remember telling Qadir at the end of the day, Kaptan bol rahe the ki aap bahut kuch try kar rahe the. He said, Kaptan ne kaha aapko? So which means that, when he's trying out too many things was Imran's code. For that, he was trying out the bloody flipper, he was trying out the googly, he was overdoing the googly, he was putting on the straight one. He should have only kept bowling a certain line and length and then just done the occasional googly. But, it's amazing that the captain of the Pakistan cricket team was actually telling me all this. So somewhere I became a repository of these stories.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea of, how Mudar was this 19-year-old on the tour, trying to find his way, but at the same time also getting a chance to speak to great cricketers like Imran Khan and getting to understand how a cricket team works, how the dynamic between the captains and the players are. So the next clip I picked out is from our podcast with the veteran cricket writer Sharda Ugra, a sports writer, I must say. Sharda writes on so much more other than cricket. And here she talks about her early days in journalism and the story she wrote about Tendulkar's family when Tendulkar was in Pakistan for his debut series. This was in 1989 when Tendulkar was making his debut. And she tells us how she tried to do how she did a story for the Bombay-based newspaper Midday.
So then I'm joining Midday, another sort of long story. And Sachin Tendulkar has just made his debut in the month that I have joined Midday. Of course, in Bombay, everybody knew he's going to be the greatest thing ever since, sliced bread doesn't even begin. And he played his test match and he gets hit on the face in Pakistan by Waqar, correct?
Yeah.
He gets hit in the face, and then of course I'm reporter. There is no editor. There's no sports editor. There is only sports reporter, sports sub-editor, sports whatever, which is one person, which is the new person in the job, doesn't know anything about anything. So I said, okay, I will call up his family and find out what they are saying. And of course, how do you find out the family number? Because you don't know any other sports journalist who will help you with this number. So you say telephone directory will have the number. So you open the telephone directory, and it's got about, I think it had a long list at the edge of the page. It had about maybe a long list of Tendulkar. Tendulkar is a fairly common Maharashtrian surname. But there was only one Professor Ramesh, whose number was there. 642-1445. I have a good memory for numbers.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I dialed the number, and his brother picked up it. And brother picked up. Father, spoke to brother, wrote story. By the way, that was not the lead story in the paper of the sports page. It was not. It was my interview with Zishan Ali that was the lead. And this was a side. I'm thinking about it now. It's like, who made that page? Okay, I was an idiot. I was a rookie who made that page. But could not anyone see that India's youngest player has got hit on the nose? His family are giving quotes to our sports reporter. Put it on the damn front page, man. You can't put it in the front page. Make it the lead story of the sports page. It is second lead on the page. Zishan Ali interview has gone as lead story. So, anyway, no disrespect to Zishan Ali, but please,
I mean, if anyone says that cricket overshadows all sports in India,
Lies,
that page
lies.
should be shown.
Lies, yeah, lies. I have it somewhere. And I don't know what is the quote that we had. Sachin has always been brave. That was the quote. And I'm thinking now, I said, what will they do with a story like this now? Yeah.
So that was Sharda in her energetic, exuberant style, telling us about that experience of chatting with the Tendulkar family and publishing the story. The final clip I've chosen is from the podcast we did with the Sri Lankan writer, Andrew Fidel Fernando. Fidel is the Sri Lanka correspondent for ESPN Cricinfo and is one of the finest cricket writers doing the rounds. We were talking to Fidel about the gorgeous stadium in Galle and all the wonderful matches that it has hosted. And he brought forth an indelible memory from a Sri Lanka-Pakistan test in 2014. This is such an evocative description of the end of that match that you will perhaps feel like you're transported back to that time and place. And this is definitely one of my favorite bits of that podcast we did with Fidel.
It was the end. It was the conclusion of a test match between Sri Lanka and Pakistan, 2014. Mahela Jayawardena's last test match there. And it was one of these tests, we touched on this earlier about, it seemed like it was going to be a draw right the way through. Kumar Sangakkara had got a double 100. Yunus Khan had got a 180 odd. It was not until the fourth morning, I think, that Sri Lanka were bowled out in their fifth morning. The Sri Lanka were bowled out in the first innings. And then they had gotten a slim lead, not a great lead. And then you thought, okay, this is not going to end. There's still Pakistan have got to bat, and then Sri Lanka have got to bat. Suddenly, Rangan Hera does what he does, and he gets a 5-wicket haul. Pakistan collapse. And Sri Lanka have got, I think, 20 overs to get 90 runs. And suddenly the whole stadium packs out, right? It was sleepy during the first two sessions. Suddenly, people have shut their shops the grounding goal is basically in the middle of town. People have shut their shops. People are at the ground. The stands are completely packed, right? And then you see the fort start to fill out. So the fort now has 2,000, 2,500 people lining the edge just to watch the Sri Lanka run chase to see if they can do it. And to add to the drama, this huge dark cloud parks itself above the stadium, right? And in the background of the fort as well, July, I think it was July or August, it's kite flying season. You can see kites all over the fort. So you've got the fort packed with people. You've got the stands packed with people. You've got kites in the background. You've got the ocean on two sides. You've got this huge 16th century fort, and you've got this apocalyptic-looking black cloud that's parked itself over the stadium. As soon as it rains, it's got to the fag end of the day. The light is fading. As soon as it rains, that's it. The match is over. So Sri Lanka are batting, and then Angelo Matthews and Kithron Withanage, another batsman who's there. Pakistan are sort of bowling negatively because they don't want this 90 runs to be chased. I think it was 99 to win. And they started bowling short balls, and then Sri Lanka just started hooking them like into the stands. Angelo Matthews got a couple of good hooks. Withanage got a couple of good hooks. And it's just like this rain is going to fall any moment. And then he scores. It gets to the stage where Pakistani fans on Twitter are screaming, like, what is it? What is up with clouds in this country? Are they not doing how is it not raining already? This cloud's been there for like half an hour. It's like deathly dark. Angelo Matthews hits the winning run literally as the rain starts falling. It's not like it starts with a drizzle. Torrential rain begins as he's like halfway down the pitch scoring the winning run. And it was just one of the most incredible finishes to a test match I'll ever see. Just the sights, the sounds of it, of that game, and all these things that are so unique to Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan cricket, conspiring the weather, the sea, the kites in the background, all these things that just could not have been. There could not have been any other ground in the world where that result could have been as good. And then, of course, as the rain came down, everyone in the stands and on the fort got absolutely soaked. But despite the fact that there was torrential rain coming down, they all stayed for the ceremony, just to watch Sri Lanka come out and talk about the win and thank the crowd and everything. It was just one of those absolutely special Test cricketing days.
So that was a stupendous description of the climactic stages of that Test match. You can find some highlights on YouTube. I'll give you the link in the show notes, and you must go and watch it to realize how dramatic it was at the end. So that was it for the slightly different edition of the 81 All Out podcast. We'll be back with regular programming very soon. We have a couple of special podcasts lined up. We hope you support us at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. And please check out our website, 81allout.com, for all the podcasts and articles that we have put out. And thanks a lot for listening. Have a good day.